Across the globe, SUPNEWS TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to SUPNEWS Television, and here we go beyond the headlines, from breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At SUPNEWS Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. SUPNEWS TV, powered by FemWatch Limited, also home to the IL 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. SUPNEWS TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Welcome back to Just Africa. We're still with Mr. John Inquiry. We're talking about telecommunications infrastructure in Africa. Now, so I asked you earlier on about the areas of focus, the areas of priority, where we should focus on, when Nigeria should focus on. You were talking about the government should step in, and I asked, what about the private sector? Let's have your thoughts.
Yeah, so actually the private sector also need to collaborate, you understand, with government, because it's supposed to be a collective responsibility to develop infrastructure in Nigeria and Africa, globally. So, but like I say, also we need to also deal with the problem of insecurity. We also the issue of, though I did not mention it before, double taxations on the investors.
Double taxation.
Double
I'm
taxation.
glad you mentioned that.
Government need to also look into that. So even in the area of collaboration, there should be a kind of transparency. You know, I was trying to tell you something about WTS in Lagos, a very fantastic concept that Lagos State brought out to develop fiber infrastructure in Lagos. But if you look at how the project was implemented, it was nothing to write home about. So the purpose of that project was completely defeated, because ISP today, they are running away from using the duct because it was poorly managed. The standard was not there. So when government are entering into collaboration, there should be a kind of transparency. They should be intentional on what they want to achieve. You know, not just maybe giving people projects to compensate them for one reason or the other, because at the end of the day, it means that the purpose of all this will not be achieved. So we just keep on moving round and round. Okay. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. John Inquiry, thank you for your powerful thoughts. It has been a whole lot. Thank you, Mr. John Inquiry, for your powerful thoughts. This is where we will be rounding off Just Africa today. It's been a pleasure watching. I am Olumide Shokoya.
And I'm Oyinpriya Krumale. Thanks for watching.
Capitalism is a strategy for making a better future because unless you believe that the future can be better, you are unlikely to step up and take responsibility for making it so. Responsibility is the price of greatness. How else can one explain the thought process of a 24-year-old youth leaving the luxurious comforts in the United States to fill in for his incarcerated father in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria, and run a family business holding the fort till stability was achieved? This is the story of Abdul Samad Rabiu, an unassuming, silent achiever. Samad Rabiu attended Capital University, Columbus, Ohio, and returned to Nigeria to oversee the family business when his father, Ishaku Rabiu, was detained by the administration of General Muhammadu Buhari for allegedly not paying the rice report duties. Not only was his father under investigation, the family business was under scrutiny. These harsh realities of being thrust right into the middle of it all shaped the young man's resolve to hard work in silence. Abdul Samad Rabiu is the son of one of Nigeria's foremost industrialists, late Khalifa Ishaku Rabiu, founder of Ishaku Rabiu and Sons Group. The family-operated holding company with a history of investment in manufacturing, insurance, banking, and real estate. In the 1970s, the group invested in manufacturing, with its first investment being the Kano Suits and Packaging Cases Company, a factory producing suitcases and handbags. In 1972, the Bagauda Textile Mill, manufacturing woven clothes for uniforms, importing and trading in different segments of the economy, including frozen food service, sugar, and a motor vehicle and parts distribution company specializing in Daihatsu products. Abdul Samad Rabiu was born with a very big silver spoon in the ancient city of Kano on the 4th day of August in 1960, 57 days to Nigerian independence. 24 years later, responsibility beckoned. He was in the family business till 1988. Abdul Samad Rabiu, following in the steps of the family business, established BUA Bois International Limited in 1988. Solely for commodity trading, Bois International Limited imported rice, edible oil, flour, iron, and steel. The much-needed wins to his sale came in 1990. The government, owners of the Dettol Steel Company, got into a contract with Bois to supply its raw materials in exchange for finished products. This was the young company's much-needed windfall. Bois expanded further into steel, producing pellets, importing iron ore, and constructing multiple rolling mills in Nigeria. Nigerian Oil Mills Limited, the largest edible oil processing company in Nigeria, was sadly bought by Bois in 2005. Bois started 2 flour milling plants in Lagos and in Kano. By 2008, Bois had broken an 8-year monopoly in the Nigerian sugar industry by commissioning the second largest sugar refinery in sub-Saharan Africa. In 2009, the company went on to silently acquire a controlling stake in a publicly listed cement company in northern Nigeria, Sokoto Cement, and began to construct a $900 million cement plant in Ogun-Obela, Edo State, completed and commissioned in 2015, which was at that time the single largest non-oil investment in South-South Nigeria, and had a capacity of 6 million metric tons per annum upon completion of the second line. This was followed by a new 1.5 million metric tons line in Sokoto in 2018 and another 3 million metric ton line, which commenced in 2020 and was commissioned in 2022, bringing the total installed capacity for his cement holdings to 11 million metric tons as of January 2022. Abdul Samad Rabiu is very entrenched with his family in business, having over 40 siblings. His younger brother, Rabiu Ishaku Rabiu, was the CEO of IRS Airlines Limited, an airline based in Abuja, Nigeria. It operates scheduled domestic passenger services. Its main base was Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. The airline was established in 2002 and started operations in March 2002 and ceased operations in 2013. Kabiru Rabiu, her younger brother, currently serves as the Group Executive Director of BUA Group. In 2020, Kabiru was named the best African economic leader under the age of 40 in the 100 African Economic Leaders for Tomorrow Awards by the French Institute Chausseo. BUA invested $300 million in the 20,000 hectares Lafiaji Sugar Estate project, which comprises a sugar mill, sugar refinery, ethanol processing plant, and 35 megawatts power plant. The company also built an export-focused refinery in Port Harcourt, the only destination sugar refinery in sub-Saharan Africa. Abdul Samad Rabiu is constructing a 200,000 barrels per day petrochemicals refinery in Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. The agreement was signed with Access of France in August 2020 for the refinery aimed at serving Nigeria and the West African petroleum refining needs. It is expected to be completed and operational by 2025. The privately owned UNVEILS Cement Company was in January 2020 merged with the publicly listed Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, where Abdul Samad Rabiu already held a controlling stake in the $3.3 billion transaction, and BUA Cement PLC was born. Abdul Samad consolidated all his food businesses in sugar, edible oils, rice, flour, and pasta milling into a new company, BUA Foods PLC. In December 2021, it was listed on the Nigerian exchange. BUA Foods emerged as a consumer goods leader in market capitalization, experiencing a phenomenal 206% year-to-date appreciation. Share prices soared from 65 naira per share in December 2022 to the current value of 379.9 naira per share as at 24th March 2024. In terms of fundamentals, BUA Foods exhibited robust financials with a 54% increase in profits to 105.6 billion naira in the first 9 months of 2023. Revenue witnessed an impressive 80.95% year-on-year growth, reaching 524.428 billion naira, and return on average equity stood at 43.42%. Despite challenges, Rabiu strategically increased his direct shares in BUA Cement by 56.37%, totaling 96.12% ownership. This move, executed on June 26, 2023, demonstrates Rabiu's confidence in his company's future growth. BUA Foods PLC and BUA Cement PLC companies are among the top 10 most valuable publicly listed companies in sub-Saharan Africa. From a relatively small company in 1988, BUA Group has grown to a world-class conglomerate, contributing significantly to the country's GDP, while providing employment opportunities for tens of thousands of Nigerians. Abdul Samad Rabiu's philanthropy is silently second to none. He founded the Abdul Samad Africa Initiative, ASR Africa, and an African-focused fund for social development and renewal which seeks to support Nigeria and other African countries in the area of health, education, and social development. In October 2022, Abdul Samad Rabiu, through ASR Africa, donated $500,000 to the United States Agency for International Development partner on tuberculosis control, HIV, and gender-based violence prevention efforts in Nigeria. Development of a 7.5 billion naira 200-bed specialist hospital in Kano State during the global COVID-19 pandemic. Abdul Samad Rabiu championed Nigeria's donation to this COVID-19 intervention by a single individual or corporate donating, amongst other things, 1.35 billion naira to the COVID private sector coalition, 300 million naira to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, over 1 billion naira in cash donations to 10 state governments across the country, 70 ambulances, medical equipment, face masks, provision of foodstuffs for over 1.5 million persons in Kano, Lagos, and River States. ASR Africa Initiative donated a 4 billion naira police hospital in Abuja and donated 1 billion naira each for 6 universities across Nigeria through the ASR Africa Tertiary Education Grants Scheme for infrastructural development. The beneficiaries of the 6 billion naira tertiary education grant schemes are Ahmadu Bello University, University of Ibadan, University of Maiduguri, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, University of Ilorin, and the University of Benin. ASR African Initiative also donated 2.5 billion naira each through its tertiary healthcare development grants for health projects across 4 geopolitical zones in the country. These are in addition to 5 billion naira donated to build the first teaching hospital in Akwa Ibom State, donated 10 billion naira to the Security Support Fund of the Nigerian government. Abdul Samad Rabiu was awarded the 2022 CEO of the Year at the African CSR Awards, 2016 African Industrialist of the Year Awards by the All African Business Leader Awards, the 2022 Sun Man of the Year Awards, 2020 Vanguard Business Person of the Year, and the New Telegraph Philanthropist of the Year 2021, a recipient of several honorary doctorate degrees from various universities, including the University of Benin, Nasarawa State University, Sokoto State University, and Crescent University. Abdul Samad Rabiu is a fellow of the Institute of Directors, and he currently holds the prestigious Nigerian National Honors, Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, CFR, Commander of the Order of Niger, CON, as well as the highest civilian national honor in Niger Republic. Abdul Samad Rabiu is married with children. His children are Mustafa Khadija Kuki Rabiu, Ishaku Khalifa Rabiu, Junad Rabiu. On the 22nd of January 2024, Forbes estimated Rabiu's wealth at $5.9 billion, putting him as the 6th wealthiest man in Africa and 508th in the Global Billionaires Club. The family man, the silent achiever, the giver, Abdul Samad Rabiu.
Okay, as you know, my name is Babatunde Jala Epega. I shortened it. That was part of my journey to Baba Jala Epega. I was born here in Lagos, just a stone throw away from here, in actually Lagos Hospital here. And I was expelled from school. I went to Corona Ikoyi at the age of 6. My teacher, who I found to be quite unjust at the time, made us all stand, and I remember this, even though it's like almost 45 years ago. But I remember standing outside Corona School in the heat with all the students in my class because one boy had done something and no one owned up. So I found that quite unjust that all of us had to suffer. So I picked up a stone and I threw that stone at my headmistress's glass and it broke her window. She told my parents, and my parents weren't very happy, of course, but they realized that I wasn't meant to be in school like that here. So the teacher actually asked me to leave, and my parents took me to England. They said, take this child to England. We can't control this child here. He's a wild fellow. So as soon as I got to England, I went to Tunbridge Wells in Kent. I went to school there, and it was the most cold experience I've ever had in my life. I was 6.5 going to 7, and I went to boarding school at that age. And I think that woke me up in life straight away, that even in comfort, you still have steel. And by that, I mean that everyone would think, oh, you are lucky, you went to England at 6, 7. But I was very young. I was put in a dormitory with children from England, from Japan, from Saudi Arabia. We were all very young. There was a lot of crying in the dormitory, 12 boys, 6 on each side. And the room was very cold. I remember the cold. But one other thing I got to learn was rugby. And through my life, rugby and learning to deal with my condition and environment has instilled a strength in me. And as we know in Nigeria, you have a lot of things that happen that are out of your control, but you have to find a way to evolve and adapt. And I think from the age of 6, 7, I was very lucky to have that. I went to the oldest school in the world called King's Canterbury, started by St. Augustine in 598 AD. This was the secondary school I went to. And my life seemed pretty, what they say, gold-leafed at the time. Everyone's like, you enjoy, you're in Nigeria, you're in London. I learned to speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I lost my Yoruba, but I'm trying to get that back. I learned to speak Spanish and French. But at the age of 17, my father had a stroke, and he was working too hard, obviously. And sadly, my mom and dad had split up by that time. So my whole life that seemed so rosy stopped, because my father's business partners, all of them somehow took the business and it went away. And from that going away, we were left destitute. My dad was in a coma for 3 months, and my mother, who wasn't working, because my sisters and I have 2 lovely older sisters, Yewande and Gigi, we were still in school. So much so that my last year's school fees were not paid. But one of my uncles kindly paid for my school fees, and my mother had to go to work. She started her own business. She too was a journalist, Mrs. Ibiene Epega, but she started a chauffeur driving company and started using cars to drive people with her staff. So from that age where I thought a university was going to be given, I was left floating in the abyss, because we didn't have financials. So for 1 year I had to work in a post office in London, and it was quite an eye-opener for me, but it didn't stop me from adapting. And again, adaptation helped me grow. So from being in a very wealthy family as a young man, coming to the age of 17 to become an adolescent, grown up, I realized that nothing is given. My father sadly was in a stroke, and when he had that stroke, he became semi-paralyzed. For another 30 years, he was semi-paralyzed. But my mother died quite soon after that time in a car crash on the road to Warri, because my Okrika side and Warri side is where my mom was from, even though my father was Ijebu. So my mother died at the age of, when I was 21, which was 20 actually, when I was starting university. And my father was semi-paralyzed. So I became the father of the family, even though my sisters were older and far more intelligent than me. But being the man, I had to take control of a lot of things. And I think that's what really gave me the tenacity to understand that I really need to be someone who doesn't just walk in one field. I need to spread my risk. From my university, I did mathematical economics and Spanish. I was able to go to University, Queen Mary College, London University. And from there I finished. As I said, I worked again. So I worked before I went to uni, and then I worked afterwards. And for me, life is about collaboration, communication, and tenacity. And I think those were my first 21 years. There were less people in Lagos in those days. I won't lie. I grew up every summer and even Christmas where we could afford it. Back in my day, 1978, 79, Naira was 0.8 to £1. So you can understand that people were very wealthy. I think in those days there was like 40 million people. It wasn't that much of it because my dad was an estate surveyor. So we used to go to Abuja a lot. And he was one of the surveyors that gridded Abuja when it was being built during the late 70s, 80s with Obasanjo, and even before Murtala Mohammed. They were gridding it. And Lagos was, should I say, Abuja was made the capital. And Abuja is a model city of Milton Keynes, which is a model city of Paris. Just like Brasilia in Brazil was changed from Rio de Janeiro as a capital. So for me, coming back to Lagos was a joy. I enjoyed it because I was young. We used to just walk, run the streets on our bicycles and cycling, just exploring. Everything was open. There weren't as many cars. It was no big apartments, and there weren't as many people. So I had a beautiful time. There were a lot of lizards on the ground, and we used to throw stones at them. But that was my own youth. We used to go to the beach a lot. Bar Beach was around. It's not around now. Sadly, my dad used to take me to Bar Beach to see the capital punishment killings of armed robbers, and even Dimka, who was one of the leaders of the coup d'etat against Murtala Mohammed. We saw him shot there. Saturdays was a big day. And NTE used to have a channel. I think they still have their studio there. So one of our aunties, Ms. Julie Coker, was there. So we saw a different side of Nigeria. We would go to Ibadan. we'll go to Ijebu, we'll go to Benin, we'll go to Port Harcourt by road. In those days, you could travel, and along the way, we go to Akure, you pick up mangoes, you pick up coconuts, my dad will pick up palm wine, all these things on the road that I don't know if you get it now because security is an issue. So for me, it was a romantic time. I think fashion, evolving through Nigeria, has started as a siloed industry. By that I mean every individual was doing their own thing, whether they were a seamstress, a tailor, a designer, a stitcher, they were doing their own thing. But we are realizing that with the 200+ million people we have in Nigeria, you can't be an individual alone doing your own thing. So the evolution of fashion that I've seen in my own small way, as someone who's worked in the industry, is that there's more collaboration. The designers are looking for hire specialist artisans to help with their stitching, the styling, and the putting together of clothes and accessories. So I'm also seeing small grassroots shoots, very small at the moment, of the government playing a part in bringing together some kind of foundation so people can articulate their fashion designs to the world, because we have seen it in a lot of music. Obviously, Afrobeat is one of our biggest exports in this country. Obviously, there's oil and all the others, but I'm talking about within this entertainment, luxury, lifestyle industries. So we're trying to learn from that how private sector can play a part to enhance this fashion sector. So now we're seeing a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of styles. Men's fashion is big. It's not just women's fashion. Men's grooming is massive, hair and beauty as well. So men are taking care of ourselves more and more. And accessories. Accessories, I think, is fundamentally the quick fix of fashion, where we can enhance and create jobs and hyper growth in GDP by focusing on this. And this is where I implore the government with, working in mineral resources, our precious metals, semi-precious metals, help those industries to grow. There's a great lady, Janet Adeyemi, who works in Women in Business, and she is working within that. Let's help our fairer sex or the female gender to grow in business as well, because there's a fundamental knowledge that if half your population are women, as ours is roughly, or maybe 51%, 52%, you have to educate the women so they too can add it to GDP. It's a simple economist theory. You can't leave them out of it because it's very important. And these industries in fashion are enhanced by women, and we need to push that forward. I think the banking system needs to be augmented, and I'm saying this from the government's perspective. The ease of doing business in Nigeria, as an investor myself, a foreign investor as well as being an indigent in Nigeria, the problem is not getting your money to Nigeria, it's getting your money out of Nigeria. Not that you want to suck all the money out of the country, but what can help is the floating exchange rates, the flow and liquidity of money that can come in and out of the country. A lot of investors are worried about how they get their money out of Nigeria. So I think our banking system, going back to the central bank, which they're working on, needs to be much more fluid. So people feel they can invest and take money out. But also, we need to articulate what is on offer. We need to start some kind of documentation of who is available to have investment with, where they can be found, because it's because we are quite an opaque economy, meaning that people can't see the end of where they're putting their money. Once we do that basis and open up the lights within which kind of businesses are available to be invested in, I think a lot of investors, domestic and international, will be more willing to put money into it. I think content creation for me has been an evolution. I started as an ex-banker, as I said. I used to trade futures and options in Barclays Bank. I was on the Life Exchange, trading bonds, and I found that wasn't my life. I wanted to be more closer to people. Some people can be bankers on the trading desk or trading floor, but not for me. So I started doing events. I was very lucky enough to show that I was quite adept at doing events. So a big company called Richemont, they owned Cartier, Dunhill, Hackett. They were part of British American Tobacco. They took me on to do their events. So I was doing a lot of polo matches, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of brand activation events in England. So for me, I got a lot of content knowledge from that. Different styles, people, different countries. But in the last 10 years, I felt that helping companies like LinkedIn, Google, all kinds of big banks in Europe and America was not my remit. My business, EMC3, was going very strongly in America. But as a Nigerian man, I didn't feel love in America. I know that everyone says it's the land of opportunity, but being someone of my own African descent, I didn't like the mentality there. People are good, but the infrastructure is racist institutionally, as we know. So I felt I wanted to give something back to Nigeria. And with all the 20 years of, at that time, about 17 years of knowledge I gained from doing some of the best Grand Prix parties in the world, Formula One, around Monza, Silverstone, Abu Dhabi, I was doing a lot of events. I thought, let me take this back to Nigeria. I didn't have to come back to Nigeria. I wanted to. And I know with all our grievances with Nigeria, if you ask many Africans about Nigeria, they'll say, they look up to us. You guys, you have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have Fela Kuti. What's your problem? You have Chimamanda Adichie. What's your problem? So we have to take ownership and say, yeah, we do have all these people. We have Afrobeats, whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, the Venus Bushfires, all these different people that are exported. Let us look inside and say, wow, we do have a lot. So I wanted, as a content creator, to show Nigeria in all the different sectors that we do have a lot. And that's why with the marketing and communications company that I've started, my own company, I felt I could touch so many sectors. And finance, as I mentioned, I work with banks. Also government, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, a very great entity. I work in fashion, with brand labels and people across the board. There are great shops like Alara here that also promote African fashion and African business. And did you know even Leventis does a lot of research, Nigerian bottling company, to help this country. And do you know Nigeria was blowing glass 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before Europe knew glass blowing, and it's been found in Oyo State only recently. So it's very important that architecturally we take ownership of our country. The Nok civilization that has been in the mid to, I think it's above Abuja, near Benue, and even Niger River, above those basins, that has a lot of artifacts and a lot of archaeological excavation potential. But we've allowed that just to linger. People have stolen a lot of our artifacts. Nigeria was known for Benin bronzes. We were the best smelters of iron before people were smelting iron. So these are things we have to take stock of. And me as a content creator, I bring all that information together and I make sure that people acknowledge it and are aware of it. So then that will uplift us all. Now, this is a political question, but I believe with our background of the last 20, 30 years, we've had, sadly, leaders who have been militarily inclined, let's just call it that. And as we know, military people, they don't like educated people, because educated people will ask questions. So we have had what we call a dismemberment of education in Nigeria for the last 35 years. And that has played an endemic part in retarding the gross domestic productivity of our country, because our youths and even people up to my age and older, have not had the infrastructure, middle-class education that is needed for a country to grow. You look at the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century in Europe, especially in Britain, and you look how they were expanded by merchants and artisans and specific skilled workers. Apprenticeships were big, education was huge. There was what they call a noblesse obligée, a nobility obligation that people who are rich give back to institutions, not to church, to institutions that will help education. And that is where I think we've had a disconnect. Education was lacking. So for me, the way that we can help, it takes time. This new government is in. They are trying to implement the 8-point agenda, which is a good agenda. But everyone's looking for results now. Nigeria has been in a very bad state. There's global downturn. Obviously, cost of living is so high as it has been for a while. Nigeria is exacerbated, but in Europe, cost of living is high. There are some stupid wars going on around the world that has meant oil prices have skyrocketed. And you know, with the rocketing of oil, everything goes up price-wise. So Nigeria needs to reevaluate education and apprenticeship. I believe even in fashion industry especially, apprenticeship is very important. Whether it's weaving, designing, marketing, online, whatever it is, factories, you need apprenticeship. And that's the quick fix of education. But education is fundamental to everything. Education of men and women, or girls and boys, both. Let's be honest, we need both sides of our genders to work together. You know, Yoruba, we've always been what we call a dual binary kind of culture. We've always thought of male and female as one, and it's very important. Even in our names, Taiwo and Kehinde, we won't know if it's male or female. So we have to really educate ourselves that we can work together. And I think our women are our future. And I can't even emphasize that more. And education is key. But it takes time. I think Japa syndrome is very real. Everyone wants a better life. Let's not lie. You want a better life for yourselves, but for your family, your parents, your children. And the opportunities in Nigeria, even when you have been educated and you finish graduate here, to find jobs is not easy. The infrastructure is very bad for job creation. And this is being worked on, you know, and the last 8 years has been fundamentally broken. But we know this new government is changing that. But specifically, Japa in Canada, they need our brains. You go across the world and you ask any nation, especially America, who are the best educated, the best, integrated, and the most proficient people, Nigerians. So it's not that we are stupid. It's that we don't have the infrastructure at home. And America, Canada, Europe, they're giving us the infrastructure. So getting out of Nigeria is not easy. There are opportunities and policies that allow it, but going across the border to Libya is not the way. You spend $5,000, $4,000, which is almost 4 or 5 million naira to try and get to Europe, and then you're treated like a dog when you get there. That's not the way. But, you know, there are certain policies that can take you to these countries. And in Britain, for instance, it's not all, the streets aren't paved in gold, but if you earn £1 in Britain, you send that home, that £1 is 1,300 naira. So, and the minimum wage is £14 an hour now in Britain. So you can do the maths of that. So someone who is earning £14 an hour, if they work 10 hours in a day, they've earned over £100, which is 100,000 naira. So the maths, of course, is what makes people want to go there, because even if you are working there, obviously you're paying British rates, so your rent, your cost of utilities, your food and drink, your transport comes into play. It's not cheap there. But the money you send, even if you're only sending £100 a month back to your mom, that's 100,000 naira. So, or 130,000 naira in today's rate. So you can do the maths. That's why people are going. And the security in these countries is, and the education, to be quite frank, is better. but it doesn't mean they are better. We have to build a house, you must thatch the roof from within, so your roof doesn't cave in. And I think that's very important. Not that people shouldn't go home, go out of the country, but they should always come home as they can. Because we need, you see the Pakistanis doing it, you see the Indians doing it, you see the Arabs, they go home and they build their own countries. It's not good to just japa and leave. You have to come home small. I think my success is down to, as much as I can say a success, because it's still a book that is not finished and the stories are still unwritten, is a tenacity of hard work. It's very important that people understand that it takes a lifetime to look like an overnight success. It doesn't just come. What I'm still doing, I'm not the most successful in my business, but I love my business. And if you can find something that you love and you can make money out of, then you're in heaven on earth, to be quite frank. I think my spirituality and my faith is very important, as is my wife's. My wife, Helen Epega, she wrote the world's first Pidgin English opera. And we've been staging it here in London. We played in Cape Town, in Nairobi, and in Lagos, And we've staged it in London. We're at the Royal Albert Hall next year. I'm executive producer of that. So I think my success, to add to that, is that I don't put all my eggs in one basket. And I work very hard to make sure I research and obtain knowledge of the next thing, or what was the last thing. I'm a historian as well. And I put things in perspective. And I try to add value as I can. But as my momsy used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I like to listen as well. And from children you can learn, from grandpapa you can learn. So humility is very important. I'm not arrogant with it. And I think that's the most important part. Collaboration, humility, and shared drive. But also knowing that for me, Saturday and Sunday, I'm off. That's my time for the family. I take a break. Sunday, even God rested on the 7th day. Me too, I rest. I'm not 24/7, even though this weekend we have a big fashion event, but that's work. But when I take my tools down, it's tools down. No one can call me on Sunday morning. So you can't be BOing to people. Never let anyone own you like that. That's what I say. Someone calling you on Sunday morning, obviously in journalism, in film, it's a different from projects. I'm not saying every time, but just be aware of yourself and your mental health. That's the most important. Sure. The world's first Pidgin English opera is a show about a Nigerian fabled people. It's almost like Orisha, but it's not. There are people who are Mami Waters, as well as they are spiritual people. They are the guardians of the galaxy, to use an expression. There is God, the all-faithful God, and the all-knowing God, omniscient, omnipotent. But below that, there are all these almost demigods that look after, let's say, this sector of the universe. And these people are singers. They sing opera. But they sing it with Pidgin English. And you know, Pidgin is a language that is known by most Nigerians, but it's a language that people shun and say, it's a bad language. But they speak Pidgin in Hawaii. They speak Pidgin in China. They speak Pidgin, Old English Cockney is Pidgin. American even is a form of Pidgin because they Yankified English. So what my wife has done, Helen Epega, she's also known as the Venus Bushfires. She's an Afrofuturist musician. She composes songs. So she put together this compilation, which is a Pidgin English opera musical. And it's a show that lasts for about 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It depends if you're doing the short version or long version. So we have tenors, we have sopranos, we have violinists, we have kura player, and my wife plays something called the hang, which is like 2 tortoise shells, steel drums that sound like a harp. And she plays that and she sings. She's the main protagonist in this. And it's a drama about all these people that have come, the Meneme people, who are meant to look after the planet, but they lose their voice. So Earth is, because God is angry with them, the Earth, and says these people are rubbish. But the many people say to God, please give them one more chance. They're not that bad. I know they're fighting, there's lots of wars, but give them another chance. So the lead Kanate of these many people has to go to the Venus bushfire, which is the heavenly celestial place, to bring the voice back, to sing Earth back into harmony. So it's a drama. And it kind of plays on our old cultural awareness in Africa and heritage of Nigeria of there are other beings. And you must have faith in your ancestors as well as in a God. And the deities, as we know in Yoruba, I think there are 7 deities. And these are very important cultural awareness that we try to give to children as well. I think in the filmmaking in Nigeria is burgeoning. AFRIF, the African Film Festival, International Film Festival, is on now, which is a great show. I helped incept in 2010, many years ago. We had it in Port Harcourt. It was Governor Rotimi Amici that started that campaign, but it's going on very strongly now. Nollywood, as we call it, is being noticed by the international market, whether it's Netflix or Hollywood. I would like to tell you something, actually, which is, I haven't divulged this for many years. My great uncle, whose name is Orlando Martins, God rest his soul, was one of the first African actors in Hollywood. He acted in the 30s with people like Ronald Reagan, Katharine Hepburn, and Bob Hope. And he always played a part as an African prince or chief. He was never like denigrated or made into a lower African slave or anything. And I think that instilled something in my mind with this film industry. I think it's very important that Nigeria, as it is, we have some great actors like Wale Ojo and Ramsey Noah. They are playing part in producing their own shows. And it's very important. Like in America, you obviously have people like Mel Gibson, Robert De Niro, who have produced their own films as well. That Nigerians are not just actors or technicians, they are also producers and directors. It's very important that we have that link within our industry. And we make friends and we forge relationships, not just with Hollywood. There's Bollywood, the Indian industry, and there's also China, because China's film industry is massive. Technically, I think that just as big as Hollywood. So we must look to ourselves in Africa as well. There's some great film makers from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, and I think collaboration I always use collaboration because I would not be here without collaboration. Obviously, my wife, you collaborate with your spouse, but also my businesses. I have a very good English business partner. He's really a business partner. I've started a new business. I collaborate with all kinds of industries and different sectors. So for film industry, I think it's important that we push our heritage forward because people want to know about Nigeria. In Africa, they love Nollywood stories, and that's a fact. And we can expand by using distribution. Distribution is key. Netflix, all the Hollywood film houses, negotiate with them. Even if you don't get the best price for this show, make sure you check your contract, make sure you get it for your next film. So I think that's important, distribution. While I'm still alive, that's a very good question. Hope springs eternal with me, and I am optimistic about Nigeria. I think Nigeria is not what we all will think it will be. It's it's a country that needs to be more fluid. We have in diaspora a lot of powerful individuals and groups. I think we need to connect even more with those individuals and groups who need to invest in Nigeria. Our youth is very talented and is very able, but it's also very abundant. So we need to find a way to link up education, apprenticeship to these youth to give them something that is productive to work in. And that means expanding your mind as parents. It's not just doctors, lawyers, bankers that we need. We need artisans, we need creatives, and that's the most important point. It's a mind block. So for me, if we can work on Nigeria's mind psyche and the taboos of oh, we don't want our child to marry musician. You know, even as a musician, you don't just have to be a rapper. You could be a music engineer, you could be a filmmaker, you could be an engineer that works with the technical aspects of editing, you could be a designer. There's so many aspects. So I say to my utopian Nigeria, learn from your brothers and sisters. International research online is very important. And for me, the dream is to see Nigeria as a fluid country of strength in Africa, where we're trading with African countries and we're using what we have as our asset. Technically, of course, we need Europe and America and everything, but we have it in Africa. We have it in Nigeria. So my beauty of Nigeria would be if we become our own Wakanda, working with other African states and enhancing our own GDP as well as our region and our continent's GDP working together. Gosh, my favorite, what's the first one? Food. As you can see, I like my food. I like a mixture actually. I like amala. I like yams. I swallow very well. Whether it's with ogbono, that's very good. But also, from my mother's river side, there's one okra, seafood okra that my mom used to make. And I still strive to find that. I go and find that whenever I go away. In London, you have some nice Nigerian restaurants, and in Lagos, of course, as across Nigeria. But nothing like home cooking. When my wife makes me a nice, I suppose she makes a goosey for me, eba, and that's my staple. My best music, I love Afrobeats, of course, but predominantly, I'm a Fela man. Ebenezer Obey. I like the old styles. And I also like Zaire music. There's high life that comes across Africa. But to be light to say I don't like Jimi Hendrix. I like Jimi Hendrix. He's a guitarist, a Native American, African-American guitarist. I love his kind of music. So those are my mainstays. And Gorillaz and De La Soul are still very great music of mine. Those are my Spotify at the moment. What was the other question? I like wrestling. They used to call it Gidigbo back in the day, Yoruba wrestling. I used to love that. I haven't seen that much lately, but I like Nigerian wrestling. Obviously, we play good football. We're great footballers as well, globally. But you said Nigerian sports. Polo. Nigeria, I like Nigerian polo as well. To my young brethren and children of Nigeria, I say it's important hard work. Hard work, research, and belief in yourself. Obviously, times are very tough at the moment, and money is tight. But with your own creativity, you can build your empire from there. I always believe that from one's mind, you can make worlds, and you shouldn't give up. Obviously, if you're not very great at one thing, you find what you are great at. But always be honest with yourself and treat others how you want to be treated. And remember, collaboration is the key or the little sister of success. And always have a smile. Very important.
Hello and welcome to the World News on Silk News Television. We're reaching you live from our studios in Lagos. I am Olumide Shokoya. Let's take the headlines. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, says Nigeria's 36 states internally generated revenue generated 3.63 trillion naira in 2024 as stakeholders demand transparency. Bank of Industry launches 2 billion naira entrepreneurship program for National Youth Service Corps members. South Africa's Treasury receives more than 100 proposals from international financiers for its $500 million funding initiative. Ongoing U.S. shutdown disrupts the nation's air travel system, leads to widespread flight delays and cancellations. Nigeria's campaign at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile 2025 ends as Argentina inflicted a 4-0 defeat on the Flying Eagles. A sharp rise in state internally generated revenue (IGR) has sparked nationwide debate, with labor unions, civil society groups, and opposition parties accusing the state government of mismanaging funds and neglecting key projects. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, Nigeria's 36 states collectively generated 3.63 trillion naira in 2024, a 50% increase from the previous year. Yet many still rely heavily on monthly allocations from the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee. 12 states recorded revenue growth above 50%, while 24 others fell below the threshold, revealing that uneven strength of subnational economies. Critics argue that despite the surge in revenue, little progress has been made in infrastructure, education, and healthcare delivery. Labor leaders have urged greater fiscal transparency and accountability, warning that widening gap between the state income and development outcome risk deepening public mistrust in government institutions. Nigeria's ambition to become Africa's gas powerhouse gained momentum, with the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC) unveiling a new regulatory roadmap to unlock over 55 trillion cubic feet of uncommitted gas reserves. The initiative aims to attract billions of dollars in fresh investment and strengthen the country's gas value chain. According to the NUPRC, over 25 non-associated gas field development plans have been approved since the Petroleum Industry Act (PIA) came into effect, unlocking nearly 9,779 billion standard cubic feet of reserve and generating $4.9 billion in capital investments. Speaking at the third Gas Investment Forum in Lagos, Commission Chief Executive Engineer Gbenga Komolafe, represented by Engineer Enorense Amadusu, said the roadmap focuses on gas development, monetization, and infrastructure growth. He emphasized that the initiative would not only boost domestic energy supply, but also position Nigeria as a key global player in the transition to cleaner energy. The Bank of Industry, BOI, has launched a 2 billion naira entrepreneurship program for members of the National Service Youth Corps, NYSC, aimed at tackling unemployment and supporting youth-led enterprises across Nigeria. BOI Managing Director Dr. Olashupo Olusi announced the initiative tagged the BOI NYSC Entrepreneurship Program. During its launch in Abuja, he said the scheme will allow serving corps members to access loans of up to 5 million naira each at a single-digit interest rate of 9% per annum. Olusi explained that the initiative is part of BOI's broader strategy to promote innovation, job creation, and economic growth among young Nigerians. He added that beneficiaries will also receive business training and mentorship to improve the success rate of funded ventures, positioning youth entrepreneurship as a key driver of Nigeria's long-term economic diversification. The Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, Dr. Abubakar Dansoho, has reassured foreign investors that Nigeria's seaports remain safe, viable, and open for business. Speaking in Japan on the sidelines of the World Port Conference in Kobe, Dansoho said the NPA is committed to strengthen international partnerships to enhance port infrastructure and attract long-term investment. He emphasized that Nigeria's ports offer immense potential growth in trade, logistic, and maritime services. The NPA boss noted that the federal government is ready to collaborate with global investors on port development and management projects. According to him, the agency is pursuing a modernization initiative, including equipment renewal and infrastructure upgrade, to improve efficiency, competitiveness, and investor confidence in Nigeria's maritime sector. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, ARC, Archbishop Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, has applauded the Gateway International Airport in Ogun State, describing it as one of the most impressive aviation facilities in Nigeria. After arriving on a value jet commercial flight from Abuja, Dangiwa commended Governor Dapo Abiodun for delivering a world-class project within a short time. He noted that the airport's terminal building stands out for its solid construction, functionality, and proper maintenance. The minister's visit marked one of the first commercial landing at the newly completed airport, which has been widely praised for meeting international operational standards and enhancing air connectivity in the southwest region. The Nigerian Railway Corporation, NRC, has expressed concern over the growing vandalism of critical signaling equipment along the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge corridor, particularly between Agege and Agbado stations. In a statement issued by its Chief Public Relations Officer, Callistus Anyimadu, the corporation condemned the persistent attacks on railway infrastructure, warning that such acts pose serious and safety operational risk. The warning follows a recent report by the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau on the Abuja-Kaduna train incident, which also highlighted the worsening state of railway facilities across the corridors. The NRC called for stronger community vigilance and collaboration with security agencies to curb vandalism and safeguard the nation's rail asset. The Nigerian exchange extended its bullish run on Wednesday with renewed investor confidence during a 459 billion naira gain in market capitalization. The growth was fueled by sustained demand for banking and oil sector stocks. At the close of trading, market capitalization climbed to 92.5 trillion naira from 92.04 trillion naira the previous day, while the oil share index advanced by 0.50% to settle at 145,719.09 points. Trading activity shows 525.7 million shares worth 13.59 billion naira exchanged in 25,571 deals, reflecting a 4% increase in the volume, a 44% drop in value, and a 17% decline in transaction. In total, 130 listed equities participated in the session, underscoring a broad but mixed market sentiment despite the continued upward momentum. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll bring you more stories. Please stay tuned.
Dubai to Lagos, Nigeria, and across the globe, Sucris TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to Sucris Television, and here we go beyond the headlines, from breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At OGUN'S Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. OGUN'S TV, powered by FemWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. OGUN'S TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Anthony Onyemaechi Elumelu was born on the 22nd of March 1963 in Jos, North Central Nigeria, to Susanna Dominic Elumelu, originally from Delta State. Tony earned a degree in economics from Ambrose Ali University, where he laid the foundation for his future career, and then furthered his education at the University of Lagos, where he obtained a master's degree in economics. His academic journey also includes attending the Harvard Business School, where he completed the Owner of President Management program, equipping him with advanced business management skills. Tony currently serves as the chairman of Heirs Holdings, Transcorp, and United Bank for Africa, UBA, demonstrating his significant influence in the banking and investment sector. He founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which aims to empower African entrepreneurs through comprehensive training, mentorships, and funding opportunities. In addition to his professional achievements, he's also a family man, married to Dr. Adele Vivian Elumelu, and together they have 7 children. In 2020, his efforts were acknowledged when he was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in the world. Anthony Elumelu's net worth is estimated to be around $700 million, a testament to his successful ventures and strategic investments. Elumelu continues to be a driving force in the business world, advocating for sustainable economic growth and empowering the next generation of African entrepreneurs.
Musk is a visionary entrepreneur leading innovative ventures in technology, space exploration, electric vehicles, and renewable energy. Musk was born on June 28, 1971 to a South African engineer and his mother, a Canadian model and nutritionist in Pretoria, South Africa. His talents for computers and entrepreneurship emerged early, and at age 12, he created and sold a video game. Musk studied physics and economics at Queen's University and the University of Pennsylvania. In 1995, Musk founded Zip2, sold to Compaq for $307 million. He also co-founded X.com, which became PayPal, acquired by eBay for $1.5 million in 2002. Driven by a vision for humanity's multiplanetary future, Musk founded SpaceX in 2002, developing affordable rockets to support International Space Station mission and NASA's Artemis program. He became a major investor in Tesla 2004, launching electric vehicles like Roadster, Model X, and Model 3. Tesla unveiled the Cybertruck, beginning deliveries in 2023. Musk acquired X, formerly known as Twitter, in 2022, aiming to enhance future and transparency. Musk has at least 12 children from multiple relationships, including Justin Wilson, Tallulah Riley, Grimes, and Siobhan Zilis. Through SpaceX, Tesla, and other ventures, Musk shapes technology and innovation globally, and his influence extends beyond business into politics and culture.
Welcome back to the World News on Silk News Television. South Africa's National Treasury has received more than 100 proposals from international financiers for its $500 million foreign currency financing initiative as the government moves to diversify its funding sources and reduce reliance on conventional Eurobonds. Announced in July, the initiative seeks innovative ways to raise capital for Africa's most industrialized economy amid tight global credit conditions. The Treasury said that strong response reflects investor confidence in South Africa's financial management and appetite for sustainable investment options. According to the Treasury, proposals under review include bilateral term loans, private placements, structured notes, and instruments tied to environmental, social, and governance targets, ESG. The move aligns with the Pretoria's broader fiscal strategy to balance funding needs with responsible debt management while attracting long-term global capital. South African Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kgosiago said the central bank and the National Treasury have reached a consensus to lower the country's inflation target, but are debating when to implement the change. The move signals a step towards tighter monetary discipline as South Africa seeks to strengthen price stability and investor confidence amid persistent inflationary pressures. Kgosiago first hinted at a shift in July when he revealed that the central bank will begin effectively targeting 3% inflation instead of the formal 3 to 6% range set by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. Analysts say a formal adjustment could reinforce the Reserve Bank's inflation-fighting credibility, but may weigh on borrowing costs and economic growth in the short term. Now, Ivory Coast, the world's largest cocoa producer, successfully traded the origin of nearly half of its cocoa beans last season as part of efforts to comply with the European Union's upcoming anti-deforestation law, according to a new industry sustainability report. The law, which seeks to curb 10% of global deforestation linked to European Union consumption of imported goods such as cocoa, coffee, and palm oil, was initially set to take effect from December 30, but is now expected to be delayed by a year. Analysts say Ivory Coast traceability progress marks a key step towards maintaining access to the European Union market, its biggest buyer. However, smaller farmers continue to face challenges in adapting to the digital tracking system required, raising concerns about potential exclusion from the global supply chain once the new rules take effect. Now, China has tightened its export control on rare earth materials and processing technology, extending restrictions to foreign defense and semiconductor companies. The new policy announced by the Ministry of Commerce aims to safeguard China's technological advantage in critical mineral processing, while regulating access to advanced components essential for artificial intelligence and chip manufacturing. The measures include limits on exporting rare earth magnet technologies, recycling equipment, and related assemblies, with additional rules taking effect on December 1st. The move underscores Beijing's growing emphasis on securing control of strategic resources as global competition for technology supply chains intensify. China currently accounts for over 90% of the world's processed rare earths, which are inputs for electric vehicles, wind turbines, aircraft systems, and advanced military applications. The latest curbs are expected to influence international trade negotiations, particularly as major economies seek alternative sources for these critical minerals, following the announcements of share leading Chinese producers, China Northern Rare Earth Group, and Schengen Resources surged by over 6%, reflecting expectations of tighter supply and higher market value. Industry analysts say the policy could accelerate global investment in rare earth exploration and recycling technologies, potentially reshaping the global supply chain for strategic minerals. China has imposed new export restrictions on specific artificial diamond materials just days before the end of its tariff truce with the United States. Beginning November 8, exporters of artificial diamonds, micropowders, single crystals, wire saws, and grinding wheels must obtain special export licenses. The move, jointly announced by China's Commerce Ministry and Custom Authority, is aimed at reinforcing the country's control over materials vital to semiconductor polishing, hard metal machining, and advanced electronic manufacturing. The latest curbs also extend lithium batteries, artificial graphite, anodized materials, and key manufacturing equipment, all critical to global clean energy supply chain. China additionally added 5 rare earth elements to its export control list, intensifying its leverage in ongoing trade tensions with Washington. Authorities cited the need to protect national security and industrial competitiveness as the reason for the broader restrictions. Analysts see the timing as a strategic step by Beijing to strengthen its negotiating position ahead of an expected meeting with Presidents Xi Jinping and Donald Trump in 2026. China exported about $30 million worth of artificial diamond product to the United States, which was its third largest buyer after India and South Korea. Experts say the latest move could disrupt high-tech production lines and deepen uncertainty in global manufacturing markets. Now, Japan's weak yen continues to play a vital role in supporting the economy, and the negative effect on the households from rising import costs can be offset through bold fiscal measures, says Katsuji Aida, an economist advising the policy circle of likely incoming Prime Minister Tsunai Takaichi. In an interview with Reuters, Aida said the weaker yen benefits in exporters and manufacturers by boosting their global competitiveness, creating jobs, and stimulating overall growth. He argued that government spending targeted at vulnerable households and key industries can effectively neutralize the inflationary impact of higher import prices. Aida also dismissed fears that further fiscal expansion would worsen the yen's depreciation or fuel runaway inflation, insisting that a balanced policy mix of spending and reform would sustain growth momentum. His comments come as Japan prepares for a possible shift in economic priorities under Takaichi's leadership, with markets watching for signs of policy continuity or change. Now, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer have praised the promise of their new trade agreement to strengthen economic cooperation between both nations. The leaders highlighted the deal's potential to expand investment, innovation, and job creation across key sectors, including technology, renewable energy, and education. Starmer, who arrived in Mumbai on Thursday for a 2-day visit, is accompanied by over 100 British business, cultural, and academic leaders. His trip aims to build on the momentum of the trade pact signed in July, which marked a major milestone in India-United Kingdom relations. During the visit, London announced a fresh wave of Indian investments in Britain, underscoring growing confidence in the partnership. Analysts say the trade deal could significantly boost bilateral trade, currently valued at over £38 billion, while reinforcing the United Kingdom's post-Brexit push to deepen economic ties with fast-growing global markets. We'll go on a short break, and when we continue, more stories. Please stay tuned.
traffic regulations are practices put in place in both developed and underdeveloped countries. They are designed to ensure the safety of all road users, reduce accidents, and promote orderly movement. Either you are a driver or a passenger, every road user is required to understand and follow these laws. Under obligations, drivers must possess a valid driver's license issued by the authorized body. In Nigeria, this is the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC.
Individual, like I've just said, most Nigerians, as we know, celebrate their date of birth. And as such, when you obtain a driver's license, say for 3 years or 5 years, you already know if you do it today, in the next 5 years, when you'll be celebrating your birthday, you are already aware that your license is due for renewal. You don't have to even wait until that date. By law, a month to that date, you should start processing the renewal of the driver's license.
While other countries have their respective designated authorities, vehicles must also be properly registered and insured, with up-to-date documentation readily available when requested by law enforcement officers. Mandatory rules include observing speed limits, which vary depending on the road type. In cities, the limit is 50 km per hour, increasing to 80 km per hour on highways and 100 km per hour on expressways. Before hitting the road, seat belts are mandatory for both drivers and front seat passengers. Also, all traffic signs, signals, and road markings must be obeyed. Drivers must remember that using a mobile phone while driving is a punishable offense unless assisted by a hands-free device. Drunk driving is illegal, with penalties ranging from fines and license suspension to imprisonment. For passengers, wearing seatbelts is essential, and distracting the driver should be avoided at all costs. In public transport, any reckless driving should be reported to the authorities, and pedestrians, on the other hand, must also cross at designated pedestrian crossings, zebra crossings, or pedestrian bridges where available. They should follow pedestrian traffic lights and only cross when the signal indicates it is safe. Looking left, right, and left again before stepping onto the road is crucial and should avoid running while crossing. Making eye contact with approaching vehicles ensures they see you before you proceed. By following traffic regulations, road users can prevent accidents, protect lives, and contribute to smoother transportation for everyone. Grace Komolafe, Soup News Television.
Welcome back to the World News on Soup News Television. Sanctions are taking a visible toll on Russia's economy, but United States President Donald Trump has yet to confirm whether he will approve new measures. Keeping Washington's allies in suspense, the European Union sanctions chief told Reuters that while the group of G7 recently agreed to intensify and coordinate actions against Moscow, Trump's final decision remains uncertain. The G7, comprising of United States, Japan, Canada, Britain, France, Germany, and Italy, plans to target countries that buy Russian oil and help Moscow sidestep restrictions. However, without full U.S. participation, the efforts to tighten pressure on Kremlin could lose momentum, raising questions about Western unity in confronting Russia's war in Ukraine. The ongoing shutdown of the United States government has severely disrupted the nation's air travel system, leading to widespread flight delays, cancellations, and mounting traveler frustration. With air traffic controllers and security screeners working without pay, absenteeism is rising, leaving airports short-staffed and operations strained. The shutdown, now in its second week, coincides with a busy corporate travel period, heightening economic losses across airlines, tourism businesses, and related services industries. Industry experts warn that the prolonged impasse could cause long-term damage for the travel sector, as domestic and international travelers delay or cancel plans. The United States Travel Association reported that inbound tourist spending is projected to decline by 6.3% this year, while domestic travel growth remains sluggish. Many travelers worried about flight disruptions are opting to postpone business and holiday trips. Travel agencies and airline operators say uncertainty is spreading fast, with clients reconsidering major travel bookings for upcoming holidays. Aviation analysts have cautioned that a continued shutdown would further erode service quality, weaken consumer confidence, and slow down the sector's post-pandemic recovery. The ongoing crisis underscores how political stalemate in Washington can quickly evolve into a broader economic setback for one of the nation's most vital industries. Now, the 6th largest banks in the United States are projected to record stronger third-quarter profits, driven by sharp rebound in investment banking and steady lending performance. Institutions including J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo are expected to benefit from renewed deal-making and high trading activity. Analysts say improved market stability, easing regulations, and expectations of further interest rate cuts have reignited merger acquisitions and equity offerings, pushing overall banking revenues upward. Investment banking activities has surged, with nearly 50 major deals recorded in the third quarter, the highest in 2 years. Analysts also project robust earnings from trading operations across equities, fixed income, currencies, and commodities, while investors remain cautious about consumer confidence and potential loan default. Overall economic resilience continues to support healthy credit conditions. Loan repayments remain steady, and net interest income is expected to grow moderately as borrowing stays firm. Earning estimates show double-digit profit growth for most of the lending banks, with Goldman Sachs and Citigroup forecast to post the strongest gains. Analysts believe that sustained economic momentum and higher corporate financing demand will continue to drive performance into 2026. However, market watchers caution that slower deposit growth and potential credit risk in smaller firms could test the sustainability of the current rebound. Now, the price of gold has soared past $4,000 per ounce, triggering a historic surge across all the precious metals as investors seek refuge from rising global economic uncertainty. The rally given by concerns over unsustainable trade policies and fear of currency devaluation has pushed silver, platinum, and palladium to multi-decade highs. Analysts said this renewed appetite for hard assets marks a shift towards tangible stores of value amid worries that monetary instability could weaken major currencies. Gold's record-breaking climb has not only lifted investor confidence in bullion, but also strengthened central bank reserves worldwide. Data from international financial institutions show that central banks now hold more value in gold than United States Treasury bonds, a rare reversal that underscores global demand for diversification. Silver has hit $49.57 per ounce, platinum has surged by more than 80%, and palladium continues its upward momentum, driven by industrial and investment demand. Industry experts project that the continued volatility in currency and equity markets will sustain the momentum in precious metals. However, they caution that high prices could encourage increased mining exploration, potentially easing the supply squeeze in coming year. Nigeria's women basketball team, the Tigers, have been drawn in a tough group alongside host France, Germany, Korea, Colombia, and the Philippines for the 2026 FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament in Lyon, France. The draw, held on Tuesday at the Patrick Bowman House of Basketball in Nice, Switzerland, sets the stage for the final qualification ahead of next year's World Cup in Berlin. The tournament will take place from March 11 to 17, 2026. A total of 24 nations will compete across 4 host cities: Wuhan, China, Berlin, France, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Istanbul, Turkey. 16 teams will eventually secure qualification for the main event, where the Tigers will aim to continue their impressive run as Africa's top-ranked women's basketball side. Still in sport news, Nigeria's campaign at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile 2025 ended in heartbreak after Argentina inflicted a 4-0 defeat on the Flying Eagles in the round of 16 clash in Santiago. The South Americans showcased their trademark flair and precision, scoring twice in each half to seal a dominant victory and advance to the quarterfinals. The Eagles' Placente men overwhelmed Nigeria with their pace and pressing, leaving the African side chasing shadows for most of the encounter. Alejo Sacco opened the scoring just 2 minutes, finishing off a low cross from Dylan Grosito and beat goalkeeper Ebenezer Harcourt. Now, despite moments of resistance, the Flying Eagles struggled to regain control, conceding further goals that ended their World Cup journey in disappointing fashion. And that's a wrap on the news, but before we go, here's a quick recap of today's stories. The National Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's 36 states RGR generated 3.6 trillion naira in 2024 as stakeholders demand transparency of Bank of Industry. Bank of Industry launches 2 billion naira entrepreneurship program for National Youth Service Corps members. South Africa's National Treasury received more than 100 proposals from international financiers for its $500 million funding initiative. Ongoing U.S. shutdown disrupts the nation's air travel system, leads to widespread flight delays and cancellations. Nigeria campaign at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile 2025 ends as Argentina inflicted a 4-0 defeat on the Flying Eagles. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souk News Television. I am Olumide Shokoya. Thanks for watching.
I hail from Lagos State, from Isaleko. My father hailed from the Olumegbo family. I attended my primary, secondary education in Ibadan at the time because my mother was there. But my religious practicing was always done during the holidays at Holy Cross Cathedral. I was working in the sacristy. We used to prepare for the Mass on Saturdays, and we sell the news magazine on Sundays. in front of the church. And I remembered fondly that we used to tease the man called Sunday Boku Boku at that time, and he used to run to chase us and throw stones and how dare you call me Sunday Boku Boku. Those were fun times. Harvest, Corpus Christi. And I was born, raised, baptized, confirmed, married in the Catholic Church. But I got married to Engineer Larry Phillips, who is an Anglican. And I believe that in togetherness of family, it's best we all do things together. So I moved over with him against the doctrine of Catholic Church to the Anglican Church at Marina, where his family belongs and worships. I attended St. Luke's Demonstration School. We used to climb the mango trees, and there was a mixed school. We used to play at during break time. And in my secondary school was a Catholic school. And it's for you to be prim and prudish in life and, you know, set you on as a lady. And I got some finesse from there too. And, but the most interesting one and the most that I can call a radical one was my HSC in Olivet. I mean, we tried all sorts there. But it was fun and highly educative too. Sportsmanship was there. And from there, I proceeded abroad for my accountancy. And I was lucky to finish in a record time. And I came back, did my articleship, but married in between. I met my husband abroad, and we came back home, got married in Nigeria. I worked as an accountant with USC, very proud of the drill professionally that I got from USC. It had set me on a discipline for working, and I thank God that I had that opportunity, which still helps me today. Apart from the fact that my educational background sets me to be a diversified person in so many professions. And you know, as an accountant, accountancy is the best of all, is the creme de la creme, and I've been able to fulfill my professional exposure in every species of responsibilities that I had opportunity to take upon me. And from USC, I proceeded to work for the bank. I went to politics. I became a commissioner in Lagos State, served with the present president of Nigeria. And you know how Lagos is. Lagos is like a country to other states. We went through governance. My team, as you can see, I have some of my colleagues in Abuja now. I have Honorable Minister Wali Edu. I have Honorable Minister Dele Alake. I have Honorable Minister Yemi Cardozo, and so forth. And I served in the bank as a director in Keystone. I've been a chairman of so many committees, you can say that again, in different aspects of life. professional, political, social, and currently I'm now the chairman of Lasaco Insurance PLC. When I was growing up, it was so free and enjoyable. We can take off at 11, 12, escort your friends to Bangboshe here. We go and have the Mosa. We go to the stadium. I remember me in my teenage age, I used to go to Nikon Stadium here. We watch so many matches, and I used to be with those fans, dancing and waving our fans, and bazaars, Easter Mondays, Fela Sports, you name it. It was fun. But Lagos was good for all of us. It was cleaner. It was amazing. Security isn't much to fear, You can just live the way you want. And money and values of life are completely different to what they are today. I was with my grandparents, and we had so many tenants, and we didn't realize they were tenants. We were all playing together, eating together, and we are still like one family today. But the story is not the same again. I wish one can turn around and change it, but we have all given our kids sheltered life for the fear of unknown. And I think the disadvantage is very grievous. I think first and foremost, God gave me the chance, the opportunities to pass through that in the journey of life. It's not only money that can make you successful in life. I want you to get that. It's an added support for you if in life you have the opportunities of parents who can financially support you. But at the same time, there are kids who didn't have any financial support and have been successful. So to me, success is about self-determination. I grew up around uncles and aunties who are thoroughly educated, and I've always had it behind my ambition that I must be in that cadre. And thank God the opportunity was there for me, and I seized it. And I remember myself telling my kids, when I was abroad, I never lived like my father was a rich man. No. I was behind the desk reading and reading till I got successful. And I passed in record time. First and foremost, I think I'm a people's person. Secondly, my educational background. Thirdly, my pedigree. And you can't be a Lagos person and don't have a bit of intelligence about how you can maneuver yourself, even in the midst of challenges. And I can tell you that boardroom politics, especially when you're a woman, is tough. But when you manage those that you sit around with, eventually, when they see that you're there to work, right, it has no business and basis for any other thing. I've had issues on boards because I'm female, and I put my foot down. It is the work we are doing. There is no gender sensitivity in this issue. Even in my early days as an accountant, when I head the accounting department, it was even tough at that level because the young accounting class, some of them can be daring to say, how can you talk to me like that? How can you make it? And I'll say, please, what do you mean? We need to get this target work done. So it's the work that is talking. That's nothing to do with whether I'm a man or a woman. So I will like the idea of gender reasonableness to be better played. At least for now, we are not having that 3 1/3, no. But I guess we are in the region of 20%. And it should be better. You give a woman a chance, she will devote her life to it. But I mean, when we have 1 or 2 issues from women who have been there, that should not create hurdle or boundary that you say a woman shouldn't cross. No, nobody is perfect in life. And I want to let you know, it's tough for a woman. These men, when it is a woman having a corrective measure to be taken, they do not handle it the way they do for the men. They're in a rush to pack the woman out. You see from what has happened all over the world. So I will still make an appeal that women should be given better chances, better allowances. It's so quick to make a woman a scapegoat, the sacrificial lamb. Let's take it easy. And please, women, when they put you there, make us proud. I should remember the other women coming after me. If I make this trouble now, they turn around and say, this is why we don't give them the chance to get to the top. So you manage the situation, you know? And let us remember that Africa is still barely chauvinistic. It's still a man's world here. We are only trying. So just give us, for now, our required 33 1/3% as per Beijing recommendation. Having been in politics, there are so many factors that bring you up there. Some sensible, which I would call sensibilities, some sensitive based, which I would call sensitivity, and some as per geographical distribution. If it's not the turn of your section, your district, there's no way they can put you there. But then sometimes it's the turn of your district, the party supremacy decrees that they don't want to use you. What do? You have to show some resilience as a stable character and do whatever you are given very well. Excel. Somehow, one day, you'll be there. Like Martin Luther King. At the end of that tunnel, I can see the light. Someday, somehow, you get there. I was in tourism shortly, and it's not enough time to propagate the excellence of your work. But in special duties, I give the ministry class. I was able to represent my Lagos State very well. NYSC was under me. Proudly, I served. And we ensure that all students that need to go to orientation camp are well registered and got their NYSC certificates. It's not about where they put you, it's about what you are able to do in that place. And you do it even to the enviable eye of somebody who believes has the best ministry with a lot of funding and allocation. I'm different in that respect. A hard-working man, a man with a lot of sagacity, a man that is very kind, he has human kindness in his heart, a man that is highly focused. My office was very close to the roundhouse, and I tell you, I wasn't surprised. And I kept telling everybody, I wasn't surprised he got a clinch that position, because I knew that even when in 99, from the day we stepped in, he's been working towards his election in 2003. So a man like that who is focused, his business is the end of the tunnel. All the distractions you are given, he doesn't consider it. So don't waste your emotions. You know, when you provoke yourself unnecessarily, and the person you are provoking yourself upon is not even responding on that line, you know you're wasting your time. But he's an astute politician. He knows what to do at every point. And don't try him, because he's a hard knock. And he's easy to forgive. That bit, I don't know how he does it, but it's easy to forgive and move on. He understands politics, maybe from a young age, I don't know, but he seems to have the knack of it at all times. I think that's in the pipeline. I don't have to come here to say that. And even in the insurance company industry that I am now, I'm propagating that, look, you need to take it easy. Is it at these hard times you want to recapitalize the industry and make life harder? Yes, recapitalize, but not with large gap. You know, the variance should not be too much, because you need to recapitalize so that companies will be solidly based to address financial issues and risk issues that we have in the country today. I studied religion for my A-levels in school. I did divinity. It's not just reading Bible. The interpretation, the history, the analogy, all of that I did. And it has helped to shape me for life. It has molded my conscience to a large extent. What I see in religion today, if I go back to the way I have studied religion, I will say I'm worried. The way we have churches established in this country now, I'm talking of my experience in Lagos State. On the street, you can find 6, 8 churches, but there is no school. Education is key. Religion molds the character, the moral values about life. I'm not saying they're all totally condemned, but I think there should be more conferences and seminars to appeal to their conscience. It's one God. And in Lagos, the families, both Christian and Muslims, and the third religion, which is the native religion, we all interact and live together. And usually you find out that all of them talking about this God. I am a Christian. I talk about my God. And I don't denounce anyone in any other religion that faithfully talk about their God. And I don't allow that to affect a lot of decisions that I have to make, and didn't affect a lot of decisions that I had made. The expectation is too high. We are still a developing country. The awareness of covering up your risk is not too much there. In terms of life insurance, in terms of property, people are not still there. People don't cover themselves well enough. They take unnecessary risk. I'm glad Lagos State Governor is saying everybody must have a health insurance now. That, again, will expand the scope of the insurance business. In insurance, there are so many seminars, there are so many conferences that are being put up there now, where the ability to educate the masses, and even the high-ups one, to please insure yourself. And when I say yourself, your life, your property, your children, and see how far it goes. It is important. And you know, in this era of insecurity, it is highly important. Just make sure you insure yourself. And with what the governor had proposed now, definitely Governor Sanwo-Olu did well. Health insurance is key. Health is wealth. First and foremost, inflation all over the world has gone haywire. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. Those who live in the Western world, they're crying hula baloo about the price of petrol, the price of even eggs. So it's not just Nigeria. Let us wake up and see that we're in a global world and everything is intertwined. The issue of the central bank now trying to manage inflation, these are not easy times all over the world. They're not easy times. And when I say we are a developing country, we are still trying very hard. I don't want to say it's sad. It depends on the environment. You know, you can't just bring UAE here into Nigeria. The environment here from inception has not delved too much on tourism. Your tourism is just go on holiday and go back. The beaches are there. And even from 1999, they are trying to redevelop along the beach so that tourist activities can happen. And I'm sure they're still on it. You need tourist attraction where you have every aspect of life when tourists come over. But with the problem of infrastructure that we have in the country, you can't do much tourism.
human achievements, goal setting, hard work, and dedication have been proven to be some of the elements towards success. The journey of remarkable individuals with lasting impact on the world are often filled with manifold stories, but through determination, they build their lives and make extraordinary contributions. Join me on the story of a trailblazer in business and philanthropy, Iboje Ig Mokwede, a lawyer turned banker who has done well for himself, made an indelible mark within the banking sector, and has continued in his ambition of touching lives within Nigeria and across Africa. Iboje Ig Mokwede. Within the Nigerian business space and philanthropy, few names resonate and are respected profoundly. Such is Iboje Ig Mokwede. If you're just watching, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great documentaries. Like, share, and comment. Known as a successful business mogul, banker, investor, and a philanthropist who cares about making difference, Ig Mokwede's story is one of hard work, creativity, and a desire to drive positive change across Africa. Born to civil service parents on September 24, 1966 in Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria, he hails from Sabongida Ora, Edo State. Iboje spent his formative years with his parents in Lagos, where he had his primary education at St. Saviour's School. He enrolled into Federal Government College, Kaduna, and at age 16, he was admitted to study law at the University of Benin, where he graduated at a young age of 19 with a law degree, displaying early signs of his exceptional intellect and drive. Called to the Nigerian bar in 1987, he started his career in 1988 as a lawyer at Continental Merchant Bank during his National Youth Service Corps NYSC year. In 1991, he joined Guaranty Trust Bank PLC, GT Bank, where he rose to prominence as an executive director. His big moment came in 2002 when he led the acquisition of Access Bank, turning it from a small regional bank into a big player, a banking powerhouse in the industry. Throughout his career, Ig Mokwede has taken on different leadership roles, including Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Access Bank until December 2013. He later became President of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and retired in 2017, but remains on the National Council. Bowing out of Access Bank, he was given a befitting send-off.
No man or combination of men could transform what we met in Access Bank in 2002 into what would cause this type of people to come and celebrate today's office.
His foresight and managerial acumen have brought him chairmanship and directorial roles in prominent organizations such as African Finance Corporation, Associated Discount House Limited, Petrolon Energy, among others, thereby contributing greatly to their growth and sustainability. Hard work, they say, pays. Igboje Agemokwede's hard work earned him many awards and honors. He received the National Productivity Order of Merit Award in 2009, conferred with Commander of the Order of the Niger CON in 2011 by the then President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, during his administration for contributing to banking and finance. As a visionary leader, he was installed into the E&Y World Entrepreneurs Hall of Fame in 2011 as the EY West Africa Entrepreneur of the Year and named African Banker of the Year in 2013. These amounting to how much others values his leadership and ideas. He got honored by Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers of Nigeria. Beside his work, Agemokwede also gives back to society. This philanthropist is involved in efforts to improve governance and healthcare across Africa through his Agemokwede Foundation, making a positive impact on people's lives. He initiated the Adopt a Healthcare Facility program in 2019, and he is the chairman of ABC Health and director of the Private Sector Health Alliance of Nigeria. He is the founder of chairman of Coronation Capital Limited since 2015 and has contributed to the growth of the Coronation ecosystem. Coronation Capital Limited, with other arms of its businesses, also bettered Coronation Art Gallery in Lagos on the 13th of May 2022, a platform for showcasing exceptional works of art that embodied the essence of cultural significance and artistic expression. Igboje Agemokwede founded Coronation Art Gallery with the vision of democratizing art, foster appreciation and understanding for the artistic world, and making it accessible to a wider audience.
Bumi Augusto is, I knew Bumi when she was born. I know her parents, and I know all her siblings. She's a beautiful, wonderful, gifted Nigerian artist, and just like many of the others here. The piece behind me is a triptych, long throats, all up to longer throats. I actually thought that I was going to caption this collection. You know, this is really a microcosm of my entire collection, but I was going to capture it longer throats because this represents a lot of this collecting I did during COVID. Many of these pieces actually were not in Nigeria. I brought them home. I'll tell you something. I'm known for collecting masters, you know, the Nwonwus and the Yusuf Grillos and so on. I still do, okay? And I kind of stuck to that genre of classic. Those are the people who, when I was growing up, as I told you, those are the people who were my parents, either just older than them or contemporaries. So I grew up knowing these artists as my uncles, okay? So my first collecting was, you know, from works, you know, done by masters like that. After a while, you know, these works are really priced in. But Bumi Augusto, you know, her works, you know, which may appear even a bit pricey now, in 10 years' time, you know. So this is also hosted by Coronation, which are companies that are all about wealth creation. So there's also the investment angle. I don't collect for investments, but, you know, with all that these great Nigerian and African artists, the young ones, have been doing, and the way their prices have been rising, you know, I've got to focus on investments now.
Collaborated with the Nigerian Civil Service to digitalize work processes and public service delivery in October 2021. Recognizing 43 public servants at the 2022 Civil Service Award ceremony on behalf of the Agemokwede Foundation with an encouragement of cash prize worth 500,000 naira for each awardees.
It is my understanding that annually 43 public servants will be recognized in this fashion. And so, with effect from the 2022 Civil Service Awards ceremony, on behalf of the Agemokwede Foundation, we will be putting an endowment with effect from this award session, whereby each awardee receives a cash prize of 500,000 naira. And in the interest of digital culture, the credits will go directly to your accounts.
Among his many certifications, affiliations, and fellowships, Ige Mokwede holds Triumph MBA from the London School of Economics, New York University, and HEC Paris. He attended an executive management program at Harvard Business School in the year 2000, and he is a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, also appointed to the International Advisory Board of Oxford University's Blavatnik School of Government. Ige Mokwede is a honorary fellow of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria and had received an honorary doctorate of science from Olabisi Onabanjo University in 2018. Also honored by Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers of Nigeria last year in a groundbreaking ceremony.
If the operators of our markets, of a nation's capital markets, are properly resourced in terms of skill, capacity, and conduct, nothing can stop that nation and its citizens from leaving the tarmac and moving from third world to first world. Nothing can stop it. The correlation between the advancement of financial markets and the advancement of national economies is perfect. It's not almost, it is perfect. And so, you understand why I have tied myself to the future of this market and why I have tried from the very word go that my voice was heard to get the public sector and the elite within the private sector to understand that we cannot ignore this market.
Iboje is the first African co-chairman of the Global Business Coalition on Health and chairman of the Friends of the Global Fund, Africa. The business mogul has made significant donations to the Global Fund. He is the vice chairman of the Global Citizen Nigeria and creator of the Nigerian Solidarity Support Fund. There is always a story, or say many stories, behind every success, and this Ige Mokwede has shared in a book called Leaving the Tarmac, Buying a Bank in Africa, Red Door 2020. In it, he talked about how he and others turned Access Bank into a major success, showing his determination and vision.
On a personal note, I think the first thing is that I left Access Bank. I retired as CEO in 2013, and I knew that I needed time off just to recharge my battery, so to speak. I didn't think I would have more than a year and a half before my perpetual motion character, kind of took over once again. And so I wanted to use that period as productively as possible. So I had a year and a half, and what better to do in a year and a half, than write a book. And for me, it was an opportunity, for posterity to tell the story to my children in a structured sense, because before then, I just hadn't had the opportunity to sit down with my kids and say, this is what I did today, or this is what I did yesterday, and these are the highs and the lows of this journey. Herbert and I went through a hell of an experience between 2002 and 2013, and for him that experience has continued. We learned so much, we were exposed to so many things. We had really, really great mountains that we climbed. We scaled some pretty high heights and so on. In a sense, it would be very selfish of us to, lock this up in a box and not share it with others, because I think our experience, can be used by any other person who has an ambition to go out there and do, whatever it is they seek, whatever it is they dream about. And so the notion of writing for posterity and recording this period in my life, and probably more important, the notion of preparing a way for others, you know, those are the things that drove me to write the book.
Ig Imokwede, former managing director of Access Bank Group, returns to lead Access Holdings, replacing Abubakar Jimo. His return after a decade aims to realize the shared vision of the late co-founder, Herbert Wigwe. Access Holdings PLC, trading under the Access Corp ticker on the Nigerian exchange, began to feel Iboda's progressive impact as its stock value increased by 1.52% following his appointments as chairman. Iboja Ig Imokwede is back again. Ig Imokwede is married to Ofovwe Ig Imokwede and has 4 children, namely Ohiozoje, Aima, Morenike, and Renown. He has been able to balance his family life with his professional achievements, setting an example as a leader and role model to many. He is an ordained minister of the Promised Land Ministry. In the annals of Nigerian business history, his story stands out, showcasing the power of vision, perseverance, and giving back to the community. From his humble beginnings to global recognition, he inspires others to dream big and make a difference. His legacy remains as he continues to make strides in business and philanthropy.
The world of business is one filled with men and women willing to dine with risk. And when we seek African business shapers, we see individuals who have denied self to build conglomerates. From controlling over 90% of diesel trade in Nigeria to almost throwing in the towel, then getting on the Forbes list, we present Olufemi Peter Otedola. The Nigerian businessman and philanthropist was born in Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State, on the 4th of November, 1962, into the family of late Sir Michael Otedola, the governor of Lagos State from 1992 to 1993. The University of Lagos Staff School, Akuka, welcomed Olufemi for his primary education and secondary education at Olivet Baptist High School, Oyo. Olufemi proceeded to Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife, for his first degree, graduated and joined the family printing press business, working hard and gaining experience. Femi Otedola ventured out starting Centreforce Limited. The company focused on finance, investment, and trading. The oil and gas sector was Femi Otedola's next port of call. From quite a very humble beginning in the oil and gas sector, utilizing the connections and networks of family and friends, he cultivated partnerships in diesel supply chain, him being the last man to the final consumer. Challenges breed opportunities, and in Femi's case, it was a late delivery of diesel from his supplier with a broken truck, and he caught the idea. He could do better and provide better services. He ventured into diesel supply business, buying diesel from a retailer and supplying to companies. Femi Otedola encountered several difficulties securing his supply and timely meeting the demands of his growing clients. This definitely was an opportunity he identified in the fuel retail market. Otedola secured the finance, and Zenon Petroleum and Gas Limited was born, petroleum products marketing and distribution company. Otedola, owner and chairman of Zenon, in 2004 invested 15 billion naira in downstream infrastructure development and acquired storage depots at Ibadan, Apapa, as well as 4 cargo vessels, amounting to a combined total storage capacity of 147,000 metric tons. Zenon Petroleum and Gas Limited also acquired a fleet of 100 DAF fuel tanker trucks. By 2005, Zenon controlled a major share of the Nigerian diesel market, supplying fuel to most of the major manufacturers in the country, including Dangote Group, Cadbury, Coca-Cola, Nigerian Breweries, MTN, Unilever, Nestle, and Guinness. Zenon Petroleum and Gas was the name on major invoices, and Femi Otedola the name on every lips, playing toe-to-toe with major multinationals. Zenon, in a very short period, silenced the competition and almost unilaterally determined the price of diesel in Nigeria. The competitors came to Zenon for supply. Femi Otedola, with the massive success Zenon Petroleum and Gas achieved, bought a 28.7% stake in African Petroleum. Otedola branched into the financial sector and aggressively stocked up the shares of leading financial houses. He became a top shareholder in Zenith Bank, United Bank for Africa, and the largest importer of diesel in Nigeria. He acquired major shares of Africa's Finance Corporation, Mobil Oil Nigeria Limited, Chevron Texaco, and Visa Phone. Otedola has his hands deep in real estate investments, including an acquisition in February 2007 by Zenon of Stalin House in Victoria Island, Lagos from the federal government. Lagos, London, Dubai, Monaco all have the signatures of FO Property Limited. He was appointed chairman of the Transcorp Hilton Hotel Abuja and tasked with driving its expansion and upgraded to a 7-star facility. Otedola has served as a member of the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council since 2004. Was appointed by President Goodluck Jonathan to Nigeria's National Economic Management Team. Otedola is chief executive and president of the Seaforth Shipping Company Limited and was at one point Nigeria's largest ship owner after extending control over the distribution of diesel products. One of his ships, a flat-bottom bunker vessel with a storage capacity of 16,000 metric tons, was the first of its kind in Africa. In January 2006, Otedola was appointed a non-executive director of Transnational Corporation of Nigeria PLC, a multi-sectoral conglomerate established in 2004 by then President Olusegun Obasanjo to respond to market opportunities requiring heavy capital investment in Nigeria and across sub-Saharan Africa. He held this post until February 2011. Otedola was appointed chairman and chief executive of African Petroleum in 2007 through the acquisition of controlling stake in the business. Following Otedola's entry into the company, African Petroleum share price rose sharply, increasing the market capitalization from 36 billion to 217 billion naira in 6 months. In March 2009, Otedola became the second Nigerian after Aliko Dangote to appear on the Forbes list of dollar-denominated billionaires with an estimated net worth of $1.2 billion. Otedola announced a move to upgrade African Petroleum's liquefied petroleum gas storage terminals in Lagos, Kano, and Port Harcourt in October 2009. Harsh economic conditions necessitated by the slump in the oil prices and credit squeeze of 2008-09 led African Petroleum to record a loss in 2009. With the world oil price crash came difficult moments for Zenon and Otedola. He was very close to complete bankruptcy. Why?
I said to myself, I was not going to have friends and enemies. I was going to have only competitors. I had two options: commit suicide or weather the storm.
African Petroleum, rebranded in December 2010, changed its name to Fort Oil PLC. Otedola paid his near $1 billion debt and invested in the financial industry, making him a top shareholder in Zenith Bank and United Bank for Africa. Otedola restructured the business, focusing on technology and improved corporate governance. And in 2012, Fort Oil returned to profit. Otedola financed 57% of Fort Oil subsidiary, Amperion Limited, which acquired the 414 megawatt Girigu power plant for $232 million in 2013. Fort Oil improved financial position and diversification into power generation resulted in a 1,321% rise in its share price. The first half of 2014 saw the company's pre-tax profit more than double year on year to 4.1 billion naira. Revenue growth for the whole year was 33%. Fort Oil sold 70% of its equity to Swiss commodity trader Mercuria Energy Group in September 2015, giving Fort access to global commodity markets. The deal was thought to have given Otedola an estimated $200 million. In 2019, Femi Otedola sold Fort Oil PLC and announced plans to change focus from oil to power with his company, Girigu Power PLC. Girigu Power PLC became the first power generation company to list on Nigerian Stock Exchange, demonstrating to stakeholders in the sector how they can fix financing and make profits sustainably. The company's market capitalization is now 726.75 billion naira, and the share price now 290.7 naira from the 2.5 billion shares that were listed at 100 naira each. Otedola, the chairman of Girigu Power, sold down a Girigu stake to bring on institutional investors. In October 2021, Femi Otedola was announced as the single largest shareholder of First Bank PLC. FBN Holdings, the parent company of First Bank Limited, witnessed a commendable 437.9 billion naira surge in market capitalization. FBN Holdings appointed billionaire Femi Otedola as the new chairman of its board of directors, effective January 31st, 2024. Femi Otedola has had its share of controversies. Zeno was among the number of companies named in an alleged fuel subsidy scam report. This was followed by a case against Farouk Lawan for bribery. Otedola has also lost in the ever-evolving competing space of business acquisitions. Transcorp and Huheli Power Plant are two notable projects he closely bidded and lost. Femi Otedola philanthropy is quite remarkable. Otedola made a 300 million naira donation to the completion of the National Ecumenical Center in Abuja. In 2007, he gave 200 million to the State Security Trust Fund in a drive to reduce crime in Lagos. Donated 100 million naira to the Otedola College of Primary Education in Ekpe. In 2008, he donated 80 million to the Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Port Harcourt. Femi Otedola pledged and redeemed $25,000 to the Super Eagles in the match against Algeria in 2019 AFCON. He gave all 750 students of Augustine University 1 million naira each. Femi Otedola sits comfortably on the Forbes billionaires list of top 20 richest people in Africa. Femi Otedola is married to Mrs. Nana Otedola and have 4 children: Olawumi Christy Tolani, Florence Ifeoluwa, Elizabeth Temi, and Fewa Otedola. Olufemi Peter Otedola is a standout astute business executive.
bank was totally gone. So there was nothing to say they had. But we still approached them and said, we would like to take over this bank. The journey since 1997 has been one thing or the other. And I'm happy that many years down the line, we look back and we're happy that we're audacious and bold to make them move at the time. That's why today in UBA, perseverance, resilience is a core virtue, a core attribute, a core value of ours, because we apply that early on in this journey. So that's how it all started.
Leadership, according to some Peters, entails vision, enthusiasm, trust, verve, passion, and consistency. If there's one man who graciously combines these virtues, the name Tony Elumelu comes to mind.
They say that success to a large extent is dependent on being at the right place at the right time.
I say to people, my elder brother, who is 7 years older than me, you don't have gray hair. I have gray hair. My gray hair started from the merger, because making it work, serving your customers, making sure that everyone in the universe of the institution, which was we have 428 branches at the time, that it was same level of service across board. Customers of standard trust bank that were used to a certain level of service delivery, you will not want them to come to the new institution and have a drop.
From the womb of time, Tony Elumelu has been an embodiment of nobility and excellence. He remains one of the flying eagles and shining heads of the banking industry. The life and times of Tony is an inspiring tale. He is one Nigeria who is unmoved by material wealth and self-aggrandizement. Tony's noble qualities were on from his humble background. Growing up with 4 siblings in Jos Plateau State, the cowboy of the banking industry who hails from Anocha North local government area of Delta State, believed in the democratization of law combined with hard work. He began his career as a copier salesman. The Ambrose Ali University graduate of economics also bagged a master's degree in economics from the University of Lagos. In 2019, he received an honorary Doctor of Business degree from Bayero University, Kano.
Going to university, I just thought I wanted to be a businessman because my mom's brother, my mom and his brother were just 2 of them. So my uncle was a businessman, in Nigeria, and was quite successful at the time. And I was influenced. I thought he was very rich, and also I wanted to be a businessman, but not knowing whether just a businessman, you know what I mean? Because he was described then as a businessman. And but in the university, that was why I read economics, just to see. But in university, I got more enlightened because I knew more how things operated. And first degree, I was saying I just wanted a good job that would give me the start. But when I came to do my master's at UNILAG, being in urban or UNILAG, a lot happening at the time. And that was the era of new generation banks, a lot happening. Our friends, in banking, our friends, some got jobs in some banks. And so that's all of us who were doing masters at the time. I did masters in economics. Who were doing masters at the time, we just became interested and fascinated. We were interested in working in a bank. New generation bank, not old generation bank, not. And so that was how it all started. And we started applying for jobs in our banks. And I got, yes, at the master's level, it was clear I wanted to work in a bank. And yes, that was started. As in then, Santana was a posh guy. So they oppressed us in school, I must say. And then we too wanted to become the big boys in future with the brochures, suspenders, white shirt, dark suits, etc.
The growth and development of any institution is determined by the quality of its leadership. For Tony Elumelu, his sterling performance and leadership scorecard in the banking industry remains a reference point. He rose quickly to become the youngest bank branch manager at Allstate Trust Bank at the age of 36. He formed a coalition to acquire a distressed financial institution, Crystal Bank, and became its CEO, an action that earned him and his circle of peers the nickname the Cowboys of Banking.
In 1997, some of us came together and acquired a distressed financial institution. We acquired this financial institution, we turned it around, we set targets for ourselves, strategic plans, targets, we have first year strategic intent, we want to make it a viable financial services company. Second tier intent, we want to become a leading financial services group on the continent. And third financial intent, strategic intent to become a player in the global financial arena. As we all know, there's so much private global capital seeking the right investment destination. All it takes is for a leadership to show that this country is set for business and people come there. We want to move into an economy where they can invest freely as well as move their monies out when it comes for time for dividend and remittances and repatriation of a dividend. So I will continue to invest because of the signal that we see in the market, because of certain fundamentals that are right.
He audaciously led the largest merger in Africa between United Bank of Africa and Standard Trust Bank. Tony's fancy for red tie remains emblem of his appearance. He retired as CEO of United Bank for Africa in 2010. He is presently the chairman of Heirs Holdings, the United Bank for Africa, Transcorp, and founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation.
I can't express how excited I am in words to be here and to be selected among the 1,000.
It's the opportunity for me to realize my dreams. So I go into business and start to make my way.
It challenges you to do things you never thought you could do.
Maybe if you'd have gone to a private school or an MBA, you must have paid a lot to get this kind of, enlightenment.
Ça me fait plaisir de voir des frères et sœurs qui veulent se rencontrer, se connaître, les partager et créer un réseau, peut-être le plus grand réseau africain.
Venho de Cabo Verde.
Je suis tunisien.
Je viens de la République du Bénin.
I'm from Edo State, Nigeria.
I'm from Ghana.
Zimbabwe.
Sudan.
From Rwanda.
Gabon.
Uganda.
Senegal.
Niger.
I'm from the Gambia.
Welcome and thank you for coming to Lagos. I'd like to start by congratulating all of you. You have done well.
Most entrepreneurs are creative people. They have creative mindset. They're innovative. Those who dare to dream and who dare to innovate in Africa should have the opportunity to prove their innovation. And that is why we have $10,000 for these 10,000 Africans to help prove their concept and prepare them for bigger scale financial support. We don't give because we see it as a moral burden to just give charity. But we want to give people because we want to uplift them. We want them to be self-reliant. We want them to be fishermen. We want them to do what we are doing. We want them to prosper in life, become successful.
Tony made a tremendous contribution to giving back to the society. His selfless efforts and huge investment into humanity through the Tony Elumelu Foundation is widely adjured as the leading philanthropy empowering a new generation of African entrepreneurs, driving poverty eradication, catalyzing job creation across all 54 African countries, and increasing women economic empowerment. Since the launch of the entrepreneurship program in 2015, the foundation has trained over 1.5 million young Africans on its digital hub. Tony, the Nigerian economist, entrepreneur and philanthropist, holds the Nigerian National Honors, the Commander of the Order of Niger, CON, a member of the Order of the Federal Republic, MFR. He has been responsible for creating business that are critical to Africa's economic development. He is a proponent of Africa capitalism, an economic philosophy which advocates for the private sector's commitment to Africa's development through long-term investment in strategic sectors of the economy that drive economic prosperity and social wealth award. He was awarded the Daily Times the Nigerian Man of the Year in 2016. He was honored with the National Productivity Order of Merit Award in 2019. He is also on the list of Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People of 2020. On October 11, 2022, Elumelu received the National Honor of Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Tony, as a staunch professional and chairman of Foremost Bank, may understandably runs a busy daily schedule like that of a bee, but he balances the equation with creating time for sports. His love for lawn tennis and football stands undeniable.
My good workout memories, I think I would say that I like to jump on the sport. I love yoga, as you said. Yeah. But these days I'm trying to get in the group of planking.
Tony is not just a champion in the banking org. He equally balances the equation when it comes to family life.
For me, as a family man, though, I try to make sure I balance things. I try to make sure my family side did not survive. In that process, I was also growing a family, having my kids and co. So, but everything came together.
Tony is happily married to Awele Vivian Elumelu, who is the chairperson of Harvey Medical Practice Limited. Vivian also oversees the healthcare investment of AS Holdings. She holds a Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery degree from the University of Benin. The marriage was consummated in 1993 and blessed with 7 children. According to Forbes' list, Tony is among the top 10 richest entrepreneurs in Nigeria with a net worth estimated at $1 billion.
We don't just preach. We don't just theorize, we practice.
Tony has stooped to conquer not just in the banking industry, but in life. The strides of this living legend, popularly referred to as the Lion of Africa's financial industry, remains iconic.
So entrepreneurs who are listening, quick one, short one, straight to the point. Entrepreneurship is a long-term journey. Stop seeing it as a short-term goal. Long-term journey. Great companies, great and accomplished entrepreneurs did not make it in 1 year. They didn't make it in 3 years. It's a long-term journey. So moving, dare to dream, implement your dream, and stay focused.
At the core of what makes us human is our ability to pay attention, be present in our experiences, and channel our thoughts and actions towards meaningful goals. However, for individuals with ADHD, which is considered a neurodevelopmental disorder, a medical condition that affects the brain, this fundamental aspect of human nature is often disrupted, leading to difficulties in maintaining focus, controlling impulses, and regulating behaviors.
This hyperactivity disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder that occurs in children and adolescents. It's a problem that has to do with brain development and the brain function. And the ADHD symptoms range from inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. They may be very restless, fidgeting, and they're always on the move. And sometimes they may be climbing, jumping from here and there. That they may injure themselves in the process.
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD, is one of the most common mental disorders diagnosed in children, though it can persist into adolescent and adulthood. The history dates back to 1798, when a Scottish doctor, Sir Alexander Crichton, observed that some individuals were easily distracted and unable to focus on their activities as others could. He noted that these symptoms often began early in life, which is consistent with what we now recognize as ADHD. The disorder typically manifests between the ages of 3 and 6, with symptoms such as difficulty in focusing, excessive movement inappropriate to the setting, and impulsive actions occurring without forethought. This ailment affects people of all ages, though most commonly diagnosed in children. The average age of onset is around 7 years, with symptoms significantly impacting various aspects of life. Approximately 5 to 10 of children worldwide are affected, with the highest prevalence rates observed in Africa at 8.5% and South America at 11.5%. Variations exist across different countries, with lower rates in Japan and Finland and higher rates in Jamaica and Thailand. In the United States, about 7% of children are diagnosed with this disorder, reflecting an average of prevalence globally.
Differentiate between ADHD and other neurodevelopmental disorders. It starts with comprehensive assessment. And when I talk about assessment, I mean assessment by child psychiatrists, assessment by child psychologists, and other professionals in the mental health team. And of course, there are some basic symptoms that are very clear and obvious. The clinical presentation, when you see a child that is hyperactive, that is impulsive, that is inattentive, that itself can give you a clue that that child may be having ADHD symptoms. And again, you also take further history. You may need to take, if there's a family history of ADHD in the setting, because if there's a family history of ADHD, the child may come up with ADHD in the nearest future.
Individuals affected faces challenges that extend into academic performance, work or personal relationships, and social domains. Some of the signs include constant fidgeting, impulsiveness, and difficulty completing tasks, alongside emotional struggles such as mood swings, low self-esteem, and frustration.
The diagnosis is made following a comprehensive assessment, and you also do some basic psychological investigations, and of course, by combining the report from the child psychiatrist and the child psychologist, you'll be very comfortable to make a diagnosis. And of course, I must say that there are some childhood disorders that may mimic ADHD, like learning disability, like autism spectrum disorders. But the symptoms of ADHD are so very obvious that when you see a child that is hyperactive and oftentimes restless, oftentimes impulsive, and unable to follow instructions, that should give you a high index of suspicion that that child may be struggling with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
While it's not a physical ailment like a broken bone, it is a real condition that is frequently accompanied by other conditions such as major depressive disorder, anxiety, substance abuse, learning disabilities, conduct disorder, and oppositional defense disorder, which complicates the management and treatment of the disorder. Treatments for ADHD typically involves a combination of medical therapy and behavioral interventions. Stimulants are also the most commonly used, with 70 to 80% of children experiencing symptoms relief. Cognitive behavioral therapy, anger management, and family therapy are key in managing symptoms, along with educational interventions that enhance coping strategies and organizational skills. While these treatments help manage ADHD, they do not cure it, highlighting the need for ongoing support and personalized care. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD, is a complex condition with far-reaching effects on behavior, cognition, and emotional well-being. Continued research and effective treatments are vital in helping those affected lead fulfilling lives and contribute meaningfully to their society. Grace Komolafe, Sook News TV.